If you're just turning on this video, fast forward about 3 or 4 minutes. That's when I'm going to get started talking about a few subjects. What's up, Apple? Glad you joined. Gonna start talking in a few minutes. Just waiting for people to join. Thank you as well, Jarice, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Always appreciate the gratitude. Good evening. Hey back. Hey back to you guys. Gonna start talking in a couple minutes. How am I today? I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay as you can be in this world. Like, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. But hey, what's up, Lily? I'm okay. We're gonna hit a few subjects in a couple minutes here, probably another minute or two. I got some things on my mind, important things. Thank you guys all for the gratitude. There's usually some trolls that come in here and say crazy stuff, but that's the risk you gotta take, right? Or if you go live. Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, yeah, I wasn't even gonna talk about that, but I will for a second. If you've been watching my videos, to go over all the information, I don't have my board set up and everything, but years ago, I knew that the rapture had to be in 2025, and just pinning it down to the date was the difficult part because a couple dates came and went in 2025. But if you scroll back, I mean, if you just look at the information, then you'll know it has to be in 2025. And the important thing to realize is that we are still in 2025. The year never flips in the winter. They added January and February to straighten out the calendar, and the year has always flipped, just like the biblical calendar, in around mid March, and sometimes even as far as April 1st. That's where the term April Fools came up, because there were a lot of people that wanted to hang on to April 1st as the new year, and it got changed to January 1st. And when that happened, the people who hung on to April 1st were called April Fools. But the year traditionally has always begun in the springtime, which is mid March, and that's where the biblical year begins as well, which is the new moon, the sliver moon, which is about March 18th through March 20th. And so that's the true calendar, and that's very important to recognize, because all my calculations for years have pointed me to 2025. If you scroll down my page to 3 years ago, over 3 years ago, I was pointing to 2025, and at the time, the thing with my videos, it's data, it's information. I don't give you what I want to happen. I don't give you what I feel like should happen. I leave all that out, and my videos are strictly data and information that everybody can look up themselves and be convinced yourselves. You see, I don't give you visions, I don't give you dreams, I don't give you thoughts, because those things are very open for interpretation. And me personally, I don't put a lot of stock in dreams and visions because I know that Satan is the god of this world, and his people, they have technology, and they use witchcraft to infiltrate your dreams. They've even made movies about this. They can manipulate your dreams, they can give you dreams just through radio frequency, just through their witchcraft. Satan is the prince of the power of the air. So my videos are not based on my feelings, my dreams and visions, my interpretations of things. My videos, if you look, they are based on data and information, factual, mathematical information that you can look up yourself. And not just mathematics, but for instance, when the new year begins, anybody can Google this now. Just type in when did the new year really begin, and you'll find out that in the mid 1700s they changed it to January 1st, which is in the winter. And so, God tells us in the Bible, he says he is a rewarder of those who seek him diligently. So that's what a lot of people don't understand out there online, and when they're quick to judge, is that we have been lied to about everything. And the Bible specifically says that we're supposed to search out the truth. What they give us is the junk food. Okay, they don't give us the good stuff. Maybe a nugget here and there, but they give us the junk food. The world system, Christianity, the educational system, all the systems of this world are going to give you a lot of crap. So you have to search these things out yourself. And now it's easy. You see, my videos are not, oh, I'm going to expose this guy, because you can look up the information yourself. Okay, the calculations that I give you, the explanations that I give you, it's all, anybody can see it. If you've got a Bible or Google or whatever, or a calculator, you can see these things. And that's the difference between my videos and most people's videos out there, is that they're not proving things like they're supposed to. Okay, you're supposed to, if I'm going to make a claim, I have to prove it just like in a court beyond a reasonable doubt. So, yeah, the nailing the rapture down to a date was the difficult part, but I always knew it was 2025 from 3 years ago with all the mathematical calculations. It's too much to go into right now. But yes, we are at the tail end. We are at the end of 2025, so it has to happen. It has to happen. And like I've said, I've shown that I firmly have shown that it's going to be March 2nd, 3rd, the blood moon, which is Purim. I've given so much information. After that, you have till March 25th or April 1st, which some people think, well, it's going to be Passover. But here's the tricky thing about that. It cannot be outside of 2025. Cannot. Now, the question is, where does it actually end, March 25th or April 1st? Well, to me, I don't think it's going to go there at all, because the biblical year flips on March 18th through 20th. So I don't think that it can go past the next year on the biblical calendar either. But besides all that, just watch the videos yourself, my last 12 videos. I have shown so much information that you can look at that should convince you. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But that's to each his own, right? I'm not out there doing what most people are doing out there, is just giving you what I feel, what I think, like, because the world looks evil. The world has always looked evil, okay? There's always been wars, there's always been rumors of wars, there's always been deception, false Christians, false teachers trying to deceive. The world has always been crazy, nutty people, crazy people. That's always been there. What I'm showing you is calculations that have not been shown to people that have always been there. And so, and again, it's up to everybody to make up their own mind. I just want to take a look at these comments real quick. Yeah, the whole idea of, thank you, much love to you guys as well. Though, yeah, right. So the whole idea of no man knows the day or the hour. So I've heard so many things about that. First of all, like I said, the way that the biblical or Jewish, whatever modern day days work, is from sundown to sundown. So that's why Purim is March 2nd and March 3rd, because the day begins at sundown and then it ends the next day at sundown. So it's going to be on the way we look at dates, it's going to be on March 2nd and 3rd going through there, which is interesting because of midnight, right? But but that's how the biblical calendar is intertwined with our calendar today. So that could be one way to look at it. No man knows the day or the hour. Um, Another way to look at it is that's a Jewish idiom. But another way to look at it is people are telling me, have told me before, that when you look up the meaning of that verse in the Greek, it's not even saying what we think it says. It doesn't even say that. I mean, it says something to the sorts, but the meaning of it, you can tell, is way different. And so that's another thing I've heard. There's so many things, but the unfortunate thing is that so many Christians have just taken that and said, well, we can't know anything. And that's from the brainwashing from Christianity. That's from the world. They have brainwashed Christians into thinking that you can't know anything, that you can't have any, pretty much any idea of a timeline, any idea of a date or dates or anything like this. They put it in Christians' minds where it's like the most evil thing to set a date. And that's the crazy thing. Look, this is what I actually came online to talk about. Not really the rapture, but since we're there, we're there. Sorry, I have to look close. I have bad eyes. So it's funny because so many Christians think that it's the most evil thing to set a date, right? But yet we have these certain files that are coming out now showing what people have been doing to children and to other people forever. But yet we want to set a date, but they're not worried about all these files coming out on all the people who run this world and the nasty, disgusting, totally wicked things that they're doing. No, maybe we should focus on the real evil things, okay? Here, like for some reason in Christians' minds, they have been tuned and programmed to think that it's the most evil thing to set a date, but it's not. We're looking, oh, at least I'm looking with data and proving to myself and others, and even so much as to put it out here online. And so that's evil? No, that's not evil. That's not evil. Though. What you want to know what's evil is what is being released right now. Certain files, right? That's you want to call somebody evil. Those people are evil. What we're doing here on this channel is we're looking at information. We're looking at proof. That's what we're looking at. Um. So yeah. But anyways, so what I wanted to talk about is, I couldn't help but scroll through Instagram and YouTube like I do every day, and these certain files are coming out. I'm not gonna say keywords because I don't want the video to be taken down, but it's showing apparently these videos about people being just, uh, you know what I'm talking about, right? These wicked videos. And I just wanted to tell, thinking to myself, geez, all this is being shown now. Like, I don't even want to watch any of those videos, really. I was looking at them for a minute and I'm like, I think the message here is not even to watch this stuff because once you put it in front of your eyes, you can't unsee it, right? It's like, I don't want to know what these evil people do to other people and to children. It's like, I don't even think we should be watching any of that stuff, entertaining it. And they want to put that stuff out there. They want Christians to look at this disgusting stuff. They want us to put the Bible says to put no evil in front of your eyes. So so I was sitting here thinking to myself, why am I even watching these weird videos like of human torture? I don't even want to watch any of this. And besides, I know it's all psyop. I'm not saying it's all fake. I don't think it's all fake. Maybe some of it is. Maybe some of it's AI generated. Maybe some of it's real. That's the thing. You don't really know what's real when they put this stuff out. The one thing that I do know is they're doing it on purpose. They're putting it out for a reason. It's not just all of a sudden just randomly slipping out, right? And I will say that yeah, probably there's a good amount that's real, but I think that there's some fakery too, and I think there's some AI too. You can see what they do with the AI generated videos and stuff like this, but it doesn't matter. It's all bad. Like you shouldn't even be watching that stuff anyways. But yeah, I just want to tell you guys to protect your mind because I was watching it. I mean, every time I kept scrolling, it kept popping up, and I just kept watching these videos of what looked like people being, human torture and eating people and all kinds of weird stuff. And I'm like, I started getting these feelings like this is just too disgusting for me. Like these people, I started thinking like, this is why hell was created, right? For people that enjoy doing that stuff, right? Like it makes sense. There's people out there that don't understand how can there be a hell. And I would say just watch what people do to other people with these videos. Don't literally watch it, but just think about it. People deserve hell. Trust me, these people deserve to burn in hell for doing these such evil things to people. So hell was created for fallen angels, but what happens is people follow the ways of the fallen angels, the devil, and so they do the same things, and so they get the same punishment, and that's just how it is. I think a lot of Christians are out here busy trying to argue about this and that stupid little doctrines and works, no works, can you lose your salvation, all this stuff. Man, the real evil people, man, are the people who, they're not arguing over some little doctrine, you know what I mean? They're doing they're torturing people, they're doing wicked things. That's real evil, right? Like God's not gonna say, "Oh, you didn't understand the Bible good enough, so you're going to go to hell." No, the hell is reserved for people that love evil. That's what it is. And when I say evil, even in the book of Leviticus, when you look at the laws and stuff, all sins are not the same, right? We're talking about people, not confused people, not people that mess up every once in a while or whatever, have struggle with sin. We're talking about people who have given themselves over to liking evil, to loving evil, given themselves over to like to hurt other people. That's who hell is reserved for, I believe. I don't think God is just going to send somebody to hell because they don't understand the doctrine of eternal security. Come on, man. Or they don't understand works don't count for salvation. They just because they don't understand it, they can't get it. God's not going to be like, "Oh, sorry, you got to go to hell for." No, God isn't. Come on, man. Hell is reserved for people who enjoy unrighteousness. And again, when I say unrighteousness, I'm talking about what these people do that we're seeing these certain files come out. That is an amount of evil that you're going to go to hell forever. But they don't believe that obviously or they wouldn't be doing it. But it's the truth. They don't believe that Jesus is who he says he is and he's coming back to do what he's going to do. And so they do what they do. And unfortunately, they're going to go to hell for all that stuff. They're going to burn forever. That's right. That's right. Um, but anyways, I don't know. I can't keep up with all the. But yeah. So that's one thing that I want to talk about. Protect your mind. I wouldn't even watch these sick videos that are coming out of people torturing other people and children and all kinds of crazy stuff. We all know what these people are, right? The Bible tells us, right? We all know what these people are. They always have been like this. It's nothing new. And maybe people should focus on that rather than, say, "Oh, this person's going to hell because they don't understand this certain doctrine or they set a date for the rapture and it didn't happen. Oh, they're going to hell." No, no, that's so stupid. Okay. The people that hell is reserved for is the people that love to hurt other people, not confused people and not people who get things wrong from time to time. Okay, we're talking about people who have given themselves over to the devil, and they do exactly what the devil, evil, just evil people. God's gonna, I believe that God, for people who are confused, we're only people, so He's gonna make provision for a lot of people to get it right, whatever He wants them to get. But yeah, just protect your mind, man. Don't even watch these sick videos that are coming out. They're sick. They're disgusting. Even if they're AI generated, they're still disgusting, man. It's just horrible stuff. And it's nothing that we don't know. We've been telling people that what what those people were for years and years and years. We all knew it. Most of us, we knew it. But now the public has to find out the hard way, right? Through these disgusting videos or whatever. So, anyways, yeah, if you haven't already, watch my videos, my past like 12 videos. And, I'm the type of person that I'm convinced by evidence and data. And again, that's why nobody really impresses me too much online. Sometimes I like watching people just to hear them because they can talk good, but or they talk about the Bible nice or whatever. But as far as like people who are looking for the rapture, I'm not really impressed with anybody because they don't give sufficient data and they're off anyways. Most of their calculations are off, and there's speculation. There's too much speculation there. So I'm not really impressed by anybody like that. So a lot of the revelations you see that come on my channel are from myself and through personal revelations. Not everything. Sometimes somebody will leave a comment and I'll add that information in there. Sometimes I mention that. But, there's I mean, a lot of people just say, yeah, the rapture soon and stuff like that, but they don't really give sufficient evidence. So, anyways, enough about that. Um, please watch my last 12 videos if and it's not like, oh, you have to believe in the date that I'm telling you. You don't have to believe that, but I'm thoroughly convinced that that's it. I'm gonna just put, people blame you for putting out what you see. It's like all I'm doing is putting out exactly what I see. I have the right to do that. We all have a right to do that. I'm not making things up. I'm, showing you what I see, and hopefully you see it too. If you don't, you don't. If you do, you do. But people want to crucify you just for um looking at information and data and looking at a date. It's like, I'm doing more than looking at a date. I believe it is that date, and I know it's 2025. That's a fact. But the real evil is not us. The real evil is not people that look at dates and believe in a date. The real evil is what is coming out, looking at how you treat other people, how you treat children. That's the real evil in this world, and there's a lot of other evil too, but I think Christians have got their mind focused on small, shallow things rather than the real things that are bad in this world. So either way, thank you guys all for joining me. I just want to talk about that a little bit, you know, um because I was watching those videos that are coming out about certain people and what they're doing to children and other people and just eating people. That's all in the Bible, though. This is nothing new, man. Just read the Old Testament. They used to sacrifice the children to Baal. You know, they used to eat people. They used to do all this stuff from the days of Noah, man. This ain't nothing new. It's us Bible believers that are sitting here like half asleep, like, yeah, no duh, right? Like, we already know what they do. Read the book of Enoch. If you read the book of Enoch, it tells you exactly what they did. It doesn't mask it like the Bible. It's in the Bible, but it's kind of masked. If you read the book of Enoch, they straight up tell you that giants, were eating people, drinking the blood. They were having sex with animals. And the people who followed the giants and stuff like that were doing the same thing. And this is from when? The book of Enoch. This is writing about a time that is over 4,000 years ago. It's probably like over 5,000 years ago. So it's like, yeah, no duh. And it's like the public, non-believers haven't caught on, like, oh, like the Bible is true. The Bible told us that the people who have been in power have always done this, and they always have. And it's abominations. They're abominations, man. It's like it's nothing new. And then it would start to make more sense to people, right? It's like, oh, these are the people who have the power. Well, what do they do? Oh, well, they're abominations, right? Because what did Satan tell Jesus? He said, if you bow down and worship me, you could have all the kingdoms of the earth. Well, that's what these people do. They have to follow Satan and his ways, and they got the power, right? So it kind of works like the world works, right? The most evil people do the most evil things, and that's why they have the power, right? Just like certain organizations in the world, right? They're the ones with the power. Why? Because they do it with evil, right? If you want to rule everything, well, you gotta, in this world how it is right now, you gotta be the most evil people. So it's like, okay, that's why they have the power that they have. They do the most evil things, so they get the most power in this world, and that's how it works. That's because Satan is the god of this world at the moment. It's not going to be like this forever, because when Jesus comes back, then righteousness is going to take over. But until then, that's how it is, right? From the top down, right? So at the top, you have people who just look at what the videos are coming out now, that they do these things that are so evil, like we wouldn't even think of doing them. But then it trickles down to like the streets, communities, and stuff like that. We do have kind of like law enforcement and stuff like this, but if you want real power in this world, you have to do evil things. That's the structure of the world, because it is under the influence and the domain of Satan, and that's how it works. It's not going to be like this in the millennium, though. When Christ comes back in the millennium, righteousness, yeah, there's going to be law, there's going to be justice, and it's just the way that that it's run right now in America, at least. People just keep doing evil things because there's no real justice being served, right? It's like if they had a real system, and this is my opinion, if they wanted to stop crime, it's never going to stop. But if they, until Jesus comes back, but if they wanted to really curve uh, the crime in this country and lower it by a lot, then they would start chopping hands off. They would start chopping feet off. They would start enforcing the death penalty in public. They would start giving out real punishment to people rather than just a couple years in jail to sit there and do what? Get your 3 meals a day, watch some TV, work out. It's like, dude, yeah, there might be, jail is probably rough for some people because it can be a rough place. But a lot of people that go to jail, it's nothing to them, right? So it's like they don't learn anything. So they come back out, they hurt somebody else, or they just continue to do evil because there's no real consequence, right? And the people in power, they're responsible for that, right? So if we had like the law in place as it was to an extent, in my opinion, biblically, then it would totally make people think twice, right? About stealing, about hurting other people, especially because, in my opinion, if you hurt somebody else, now there are circumstances and stuff like this, but if you intentionally go rob an old lady, I think you should be, I think that's the death penalty. You should never put your hands on another adult, like especially if you're robbing them or if you just commit physical violence to another adult like that. I think it should be the death penalty. You cannot just do that. Okay, I'm pretty strict on stuff like that in my mind. Okay, I'm not for anybody hurting anybody else. There has to be consequences, and unfortunately, there's no consequences, or there's not real consequences that send you to jail for a little while, right? So I don't have all the ins and outs of how I would structure the law to clean up everything, but I know one thing, that if there was a righteous law in place, we wouldn't have as much crime and people would think twice about what they're doing. But unfortunately, the type of people that are running this show, they could care less, right? Like they're over there torturing people, so what do they care? It's like, but anyways, it's like we're all just waiting, Most of you guys are just like me, we don't want nothing to do with the things of the world, really. We're just waiting on Jesus to get out of here, and there's nothing for us here, right? It's like we're so close to the end. There's no point in going finding a relationship. There's no point in taking some new lease on life out, right? It's like, what am I gonna do? Uh, start a New Year's resolution and try to do all these things for what? It's over. Like we're at the end. It's done. We're done. This world is done. The rapture is about to happen. The world is about to go into great tribulation. And the people that we know that didn't listen, they're about to be in the great tribulation. The wrath of God is upon the world within weeks. There's nothing left for me here. And most of you guys feel the same way, I think. What are we going to do? What? Oh, I can't wait to go join college for a 4-year plan. Yeah, right. The world's done. It's finished. Right? It's like, why go and look for to be something in this world when it's done? It's finished. What do you we're just waiting. That's all we are. And in the book of Revelation, it talks about the patience of the saints, right? The saints were being patient. Why do we got to be patient? Because we're dead to this world now. We're dead to all the things that it sells us. What does it try to sell us? It tries to sell us happiness through all this stuff, right? Like go get spend, years saving for a new car and then go get a new car. And that's supposed to be what your life is about, or a new house, right? Or a perfect relationship, or something that they want us to invest our heart in when it's all passing away and very soon. We're not talking about 5 years ago when there was time. Yeah, no, there's no time no more. We're not 5 years ago. We're not 10 years ago. We're weeks away from this all going down. So there is nothing. We're just waiting. That's it. We're waiting on the rapture. We're waiting on all this because it's just gonna pass away. There's no time left for anything, right? And I believe that a lot of you guys are in the same boat as me on that. You feel the exact same way. What do we do? We sit here. You guys watch my videos. I watch some of your guys' videos. Well, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Bible. We're talking about God. We're talking about our real life in heaven. We're talking about what is going on, the rapture, the wrath of God about to be on the earth. That's where we are at. We are not of this world, man. Like our mind is not on this world, right? But what do you see all over the internet, the world talking about? Just dumb stuff that doesn't even matter. Stupid stuff, unprofitable stuff that is not going to matter in a few weeks. It's not going to matter. What does the world make videos about? Just stuff of this world, things that don't edify. You know, my videos, my purpose is to put edifying information out. Something just like, to me, like if you're in a relationship, like sometimes people spend like thousands and thousands of dollars on a ring, right? On a ring. And I'm not going to lie, like some stones are beautiful to look at. But let's be honest. That ring is just going to be worn a little while and then put away. Look, if I believe that if you really think about it, you should like give your spouse something that they could actually use, right? Like it's going to benefit them. So that's how I look at my videos. Anytime I come online, I try to give edifying information. I don't try to give my I don't try to give things that I can't prove to you, in other words. Right? That what I try to give is things that you can prove to yourself, that you can look up yourself. And I don't give you my feelings and emotions. Like maybe on this live video, I'm giving you a little bit of my feelings and emotions, but that's not my videos. If you watch my videos, you know my videos are all data and information and about the Bible, not my personal feelings and stuff like this. But what that's not what the world is doing. You could scroll through the internet and their mind is not where our mind is, right? What is so many people posting about? They're just posting about what I did 25 years ago, right? My life 25 years ago. Oh, what did I do 25 years ago? Oh, I used to love to lift weights and work out. So if I was still that same person, oh, maybe I would dedicate my channel to bodybuilding, right? Like I was into like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or athletics, right? Or maybe like tattoos, like 20 years ago, and partying and pretty girls and all this stuff, right? Or whatever my hobby was. That's what people do, right? They post videos about cars and about things and about all these things that don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. They don't mean anything. They're unprofitable to us. I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. We're just waiting. We're dead to this world, the things of it, most of it, right? And again, just like Noah and Lot, right? Noah knew the day was coming. Lot, well, he didn't know like Noah did. I don't think. I think Lot didn't have very much time to prepare, but Noah did. Noah had years, and Noah knew exactly what was coming. And you know what they looked at Noah as? I'm sure. Oh, you're a fear monger, Noah. Oh, Noah, you're a fear monger, right? Oh, Noah, you're a loser, right? You're nothing. What do you do? You're building a boat in the middle of a desert. Talk, you should be over here with us, doing all these things, right? But Noah knew what was coming. He knew for years, and he was doing what the Lord led him to do. He was dead to the other people's world. Noah didn't want to do what they were doing because he knew the truth. So what was he? He was like an outcast, right? He was like a black sheep, and they probably called him a fearmonger. They probably called him crazy. They probably mocked him. You know, people who didn't know him probably thought he was a loser, right? Just like me. Some people think that I'm a loser. Why? Because all I do is what I do here online. And it doesn't mean anything to a lot of people that I know, right? Because why? They're still stuck in this world, right? They're not waiting on the Lord. They're not waiting on the rapture. They're not interested in the Bible. They're not interested in truth. They're interested in just living their life as if tomorrow is going to come. That's how they are. And so they look at me, what I'm doing and what I'm saying, when I'm warning them what's coming, what is happening. Okay, we know the rapture's coming. We know. We know. That's how I'm looked at. We know, the rapture's coming. Just basically put your straight jacket back on, take the meds and go to bed. Go back to bed. We know we know it's okay. That's how they look at me. Family. Close family. Friends. What are my friends talking about? They some of them may be talking about. Some of them are thinking about God. I got to be honest. Some of them, but some of them are just thinking about dumb stuff, just like as if everything's going to be normal the next day, and it's coming very soon, in a matter of weeks, that it is not going to be normal. It's going to be exactly like the days of Noah. Everything is going to change overnight. Read the Bible, man. Read it, believe it. You guys already know. I'm preaching to the choir here, but what happened with Noah? Noah was a fear monger just like us, right? That's what they would look at us as. He was a hypochondriac just like us. He was weird just like us. He was probably, they thought he was a loser just like us. And what happened? What happened? He got in the ark in a matter of excuse me, in the matter of a little tiny amount of time, right? He got in the ark, God sealed the door, and everybody else was done. All the people who called him a fearmonger, thought he was a fearmonger, who mocked him, who thought he was a weirdo, a loser because he didn't have his 4-year plan for college, right? Just giving you an example, because he wasn't part of society how they wanted him to be. Overnight, they were all doomed. And Noah and his 7 other people got in the ark, God sealed the ark, and there's no more chances. And that's how it is. That's what it is. We are the last generation, the final generation to see the rapture, to see the wrath of God poured out on the earth. And being that generation, that is what you have to deal with. You have to deal with being looked at as a weirdo, as a loser, as a fearmonger, even by other believers, because they're weak and they just ain't in it. And that's what I put up with. That's what some of you guys put up with, because we are new creatures. We are not the same thing on the inside. We look the same in the mirror, but we ain't the same on the inside. We're in a totally different dimension as the people around us, even most believers, right? Most believers, a lot of believers, not most, a lot of believers are kind of like the world. They just think everything is going to go on as it is normal, right? They're just sure in their mind, like the sun's going to come up tomorrow, that there's no flood on the way. There's no impending doom, but there is. But there is. And it's weeks away. And it's weeks away. It is weeks away. And and again, please don't cuss on my thing here. That's not. Are you a Christian? You shouldn't be cussing on here, man. Come on. But what I'm looking at so close is because my eyes are bad. I'm pretty much legally blind. So you'll see me look at things close and stuff like this. But please don't cuss on here. Come on. Um, and a lot of people getting to some other points is that, they've been trained to believe things that are lies, just straight up lies. Like I said, I believe that CERN is what causes the daily sacrifice to cease, right? I see people are looking at these prophetic scriptures in the old way with old eyes. You have to look in the last days, modern times terms. The abomination that causes desolation and setup and all that stuff, to me, that all has to do with CERN, right? The Large Hadron Collider, the D Wave machine, and the daily sacrifice is Christ in us, right? So that's a frequency, that's a vibration, that's something in the air, right? That is electrically connected to us. You have to think now, okay? The Spirit of God, we are connected electrically. Okay, God's electrically connected, just like this phone. And the daily sacrifice, they used to take the lamb in the temple every day and slaughter it, right? So now we are the temple, and Christ is the lamb that is inside of us every day, right? And we die daily, just like the Christ was the lamb that died daily in the temple. Well, now we die daily. Paul says that in 1 Corinthians 15:31. I die daily. He says to present your body as a living sacrifice, a daily sacrifice. So Christ is the daily sacrifice in us. We are the temple of God. And the rapture happens when the daily sacrifice, they cause the daily sacrifice to cease. This has to do with frequency, vibration, electricity in the air, the ether, because that's how the daily sacrifice is in us, Christ, the Lamb. So what causes that? It's not a building. That's all outdated thinking that they want you to think, that that mainstream Christianity has raised you to think. Okay, that is not what the Bible is talking about in the last days. And so what causes that to cease? Why do we have to be pulled out of here? Well, I believe that is things like CERN and the D-Wave machine, the Large Hadron Collider, the D-Wave machine, because these things are affecting the ether and the atmosphere all around, right? And that's why it causes the daily sacrifice to cease. We have the Spirit of God, Spirit of Christ has to be pulled out of us, taken out of the way. Like in 2 Thessalonians 2, because of what they're doing with these machines. That's what that's all about. It's not about what they want you to think, like in the olden days where they're going to start sacrificing animals in a building and all that stuff. God doesn't dwell in temples made with human hands in the New Testament. Okay? Paul writes that. He said, it's in the book of Acts. I don't think Paul wrote that, but it's in the book of Acts. I think Paul writes in another place that God doesn't dwell in temples made with human hands. That we are the temples, that the daily sacrifice is Christ in us, the hope of glory. And the daily sacrifice is going to cease. In other words, we're going to have to be taken out of the way spiritually because of what is going on with these machines, with this technology. Okay, you have to think about what the daily sacrifice is. It's we're electrically connected to God, and what they're doing in the ether, we have to be taken out of the way. That spirit, right, has to be taken out of the way. It's not about the old way, right? That's not it. That was a type and shadow to show us. When they did it in the physical, took an animal in a building, and that was the daily sacrifice. That's only the lower version. What God is doing now is revealing to us the spiritual meaning of all what they did. What did all that mean now? It's just because like this. Christ was the first fruits. Well, was he fruit like in the agricultural? No. But what Israel, how they gardened and stuff, is to show us the spiritual meaning of that. The unleavened bread. Christ was the unleavened bread, right? And all this stuff. Now it's likened to people, right? And that's what the lamb in the temple was, the building. It's just showing us in real time, and we're supposed to see the higher meaning of that. That's what it is. All the stuff in the physical in the Bible is to show us the higher meanings of these things. And it comes down to what we call today technology, right? Technology. That's how we can translate all that, right? Our bodies are like the phone, and we're connected to God just like the phone is connected through the ether, through, like I said, frequency, electricity. Well, how do you think we're connected to God? Why is our body over 70% water? Because electricity travels through water, right? The life is in the flesh. Leviticus 17:11. Our bodies are receptors for electricity. Now, what is going to be part of the deception in the times to come? Well, it's going to be the plastic and the metal, right? Transhumanism, right? And so it's not going to be good enough, just organic bodies anymore, right? They're going to want to be robots with the human mind, right? So they're going to, instead of using the organic human body as a vessel for the spirit, then now what is going to happen is people are going to want to use a robot to be the vessel for the human spirit. And God isn't having that. We're not having that. See? But that is what is going to be presented as a temptation to the world. And we know that we're going to be pulled out and not going to be tempted with that temptation. Okay? And what are they going to say? They're going to say all the same lies as the garden. Ye shall be as gods, right? You're going to live forever in these robotic bodies. Or maybe they just put robotics in you, right? And it's all the same lies as the garden, but it's 10.0. In the garden, you had, Windows 2.0. But now in the last days, it's all revealed like Windows 10.0. It's like in the garden, you look at it as normal, like a mundane person eating a tree from a fruit. But what was actually transpiring there was much deeper than that. That's why Apple Computers has a fruit to bite out of it, because that stands for knowledge, right? The apple stands for knowledge and has the colors of the rainbow, because like the fruits of the spirit, it has all spiritual translation. But when you look in the garden, that is like the Nintendo. When you look at the last days, everything that happened in the Nintendo is now being revealed in the last days as a PlayStation 5. Right? So all the technology was hidden, in Genesis, right? It was there, right? It was there, but it was hidden. It wasn't revealed in the book of Genesis. Now in the last days, everything that was actually in Genesis is now being revealed. And what does it have to do with? It has to do with technology, robotics, right? Transhumanism, right? The knowledge of good and evil, right? This hacking the human body, right? Metal, robotics, all these things, okay? And it was in the garden. It was there. It was just hidden. That's why Proverbs 25:2 says, it is the glory of God to conceal a thing. It is the honor of kings to search out a matter. And so what the Bible is progressive revelation. It's all one thing, but it wasn't understood until now being revealed. You see, all the revelation was in the garden in Genesis, but it wasn't revealed to man. If God doesn't want you to know something, you're not going to know it. It's only an amount of time in the last days where that whole same scenario is being replanted now, but except it's revealed as to what actually transpired in the garden. Was there a literal tree? Yes. Was there a literal fruit? Yes. Well, how could this fruit actually give them, this special knowledge? Well, we look in the New Testament. The body is considered the tree as well. We're trees, right? The fruits now, where we understand in the New Testament, has something to do with the spirit, fruits of the spirit. We understand now that there's this technology from fallen angels, and that they can put nanoparticles in the air and in the food. So maybe this fruit that they ate from in this tree had nanotechnology in it, and God knew it. He knew about the technology, and he said, just don't eat from that tree. He didn't explain everything to Adam. He didn't explain everything to Eve as to how it all worked, what was actually going on that they didn't understand. But now in the last days, we can look at what's going on now and translate it into Genesis and what happened actually at the garden and the tree. See, that's what the book of Revelation means. Revelation means revealing. You're having a revelation. Something is being revealed to you. The scales from your eyes, like onions, just keep peeling off, and you keep getting deeper and deeper in your understanding. And you go, oh my gosh, yes, they were at a tree, But now we can look what happened. It was happening now. And we can see the scenario that could have played out back then. The fruit could have been tainted with nanotechnology, and that's how Satan got into the DNA, right? Because something got into their blood that wasn't supposed to be there. They were hacked. What are they doing today? They say we can hack humans. Well, what did they? Adam and Eve were hacked. Why? Because something entered their body that wasn't supposed to. How did they hack us? Right? They put chemicals in the food, in the air, nanoparticles, nanotechnology. They have these devices that they probably don't even need to put anything in our bodies, because our bodies are literally liquid crystal. If you look it up, our bodies are literally liquid crystal, right? And on our minds, on our brains, we have millions of tiny crystals. And we also have millions of tiny particles of magnetite. We have magnets that we're born with in our mind. We have crystal that we're born within our mind. Our bodies are mostly water. So they don't need to put anything in us, really. They can just use their electrical devices now and just bring down, just like this phone. Put thoughts into your mind, maybe manipulate your actions. And so we could look now and understand Genesis much, much better. And even in the book of Revelation, chapter 3 or 2, I believe 3, I think it's 3, it says that those of us who are going to be caught up are going to be saved from the temptation that is going to come upon the whole world. Well, look at that word temptation. That goes all the way back to the garden. Eve was tempted, right? Tempted by the devil. Tempted by the fruit of another, right? So the Bible is a big cycle, but except it's progressive revelation. Adam and Eve didn't know everything that we understand today. Even people 50 years ago in Christianity didn't understand everything that we understand today, because in the last days it's all going to be revealed, and to understand what happened in the beginning, we have to understand what is happening right now at the end. Now, we are definitely at the end. There's a lot of misunderstandings out there thinking that, I don't know, I could just go into all of them, but it's clear to see with this technology alone and the technology that they don't show us, that we are at the end of time. It's all being revealed, what has been going on behind the scenes, the technology, where it came from, how they get it. We can see that it goes directly back to the garden, the same idea, the idea of eternal life through technology now, the idea of hacking humans, that goes all the way back to Genesis. It's all the same, except the only thing that's different is now we're understanding what actually transpired in the garden way back in the beginning. And that's with everything. We're getting understanding. We're looking back and saying, oh, well, now it's all connecting the dots. So yeah, I'm just looking at your guys' comments. So many comments, I can't keep up. Oh, there's a person in here, he's Muslim. Yeah. Well. But anyways, again, you can scroll down my channel to 3 years ago, and I was posting I was getting a lot of mathematical revelations showing timeline, and as I progressed, I found more and more and more. So the rapture is within weeks. The world is going to be in great tribulation or wrath within weeks. Just like Noah, it looks normal until overnight when it's not. And that's how it's going to happen. One day it was normal as in like not knowing what's going to happen. And then Noah got on the ark. God sealed the door shut. And it was everything that they didn't expect. Overnight. That's how it's going to happen. That's how it's going to happen with the rapture. Look, every day that goes on before the rapture is going to be just like the days of Noah, right? People are not going to pay attention. They're not going to believe you, right? And you're going to be a black sheep. You're going to be an outcast. They're going to even look down at you. Okay? But when Noah got in that ark and the door sealed shut, everything changed. And it was too late. It was too late. How many of those people who died in the flood thought of Noah before they died? I bet you a lot of them did. They were looking around probably going, oh my gosh, Noah was right. We should have been doing what Noah was doing. We should have been preparing. We should have been believing. So how many people do you think when the rapture happens and this world changes dramatically overnight are going to be thinking about you and me? And it's going to be too late. The guy that everybody thought was a loser, or the girl, they're just wasting their time, right? All they want to do is talk about the end of the world, right? All the complaints that they have and everything, when we enter that heavenly ark, that's all going to change in their mind. Where are they? Where'd they go? And they're going to know exactly where we are. They're going to know. And that's, you know what? The payoff is at the rapture. That's when the payoff is. Right now, what we have been going through, you know, the separation, right? Because we're separated. I guarantee you, even if you're around people, you're still separated in your mind. And you know it. You know, even though physically I'm around all these people, I'm still separated in my mind from most of these people around me. Because all they're thinking about is something else. They ain't thinking about the end of the world. They ain't telling people. They ain't warning people. They ain't getting ready. So you're separated just like me. Even though you could be in a room full of 20 people, you're still separated in your mind, right? And it's a struggle. It's not easy, right? Because you're alone. Even if you're not alone, you're really alone in your mind. You're like, nobody believes this. Nobody is getting what I'm putting out there, right? Or very few people, very few maybe. And that's what we have to go through. That's the cost. Salvation is free. And Jesus paid it all. Yes, we know that. But now you are going to experience things in the Bible. When you look in the Bible, it's going to be like you're looking at a mirror sometimes. You're like, I've been through that. I'm going through that. See, and the longer that you're alive, the more you're going to be able to look in the Bible and be like, I know what that feels like. I've been through that. I'm going through that. The Bible, you're going to be in that story, right? Just like Noah and David and Lot and all the prophets and disciples, they all made it in the Bible. But when you start to go through these things after God is working with you and you're being led, then you're in the Bible now in your mind too, because now that's you. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I know what Elijah felt like in his cave alone when he went to his people and none of them believed him. None of them cared. So he just went back to his cave and told God, just kill me. Just kill me. I'm done. There's no point in me being here anymore. That he was ready to die. He was like, let me just go. And then God said, no, you're not alone. You think you're alone, but there's others out there. So it just wasn't at the appointed time yet. So yeah, I know exactly what Elijah felt like, right? So do you guys, some of you. I know exactly what Noah felt like. Some of you guys do too. I know what Lot felt like, right? Living in a town where you're trying to be good, but everything around you is telling you not to be good, right? Because Lot lived in a town, Sodom and Gomorrah, where they were doing everything that they weren't supposed to be doing. And Lot was trying to be a righteous man, right? And he was counted for righteousness in God's eyes. But I know how that guy feels too. Because I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to not look at things that I shouldn't be looking at. I'm trying to not, participate in things, And so I know how Lot feels, And these guys, there's a similar pattern in all of the prophets, all of the servants of God in the Bible. And some of that pattern is Mainly, a lot of that pattern is separation. Separation from family, from friends. Even if they're around you, you're still separate in your mind. Like I was saying, your spirit, you're separate from them. You know, a lot of you guys probably go through it too, is where now when you go around your family, it's like, well, I can't talk about the Bible. I would love to. I would love to tell people some things, but I know I can't because they don't want to hear it. It'll just end in an argument or it'll end in some bad way. There's no point. So I'm just not going to mention the Bible now. I know you guys go through that, right? It's like, and just with talking to people in general, it's like, well, there's no point in me talking to most of these people because they don't want to hear what I have to say because they're not even on the same frequency, right? That's how it is. The most common, in my opinion, the most common thing that I see with the servants of God in the Bible is separation. Even being separate from yourself, right? Because you're like, I'm not even the same person anymore. But it's separation from the beginning, right? It's like, what do we get hit with in the Bible? Well, right in the beginning, we get hit with Enoch, right? Enoch was not, for God took him. So we're talking about a guy alone, solo man, right? Just a man, one person. And what happened with Enoch? Well, nobody else was raptured except for Enoch. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there's this man who was separate from the whole world around him, and God was pleased with him, and he was the only one raptured. Right? So it doesn't, we all we read about is Enoch being raptured and walking with God. But if he's the only one raptured, then he's the only one that was right with God, or at least kind of, right? You can kind of look at it like that. You can tell just by that Enoch was separate from the world, right? Because if he wasn't, then there'd be all these other people that were raptured with Enoch, but there wasn't. It didn't say anybody else was walking with God except for Enoch. And then he was raptured. What happens in the days of Noah when, after Enoch? Well, was everybody saved in the ark? No, there were 8 people. Noah and 7 other people got in the ark. Everybody else was not walking with God, clearly. So what does that tell us? Noah, Enoch, from the beginning and on and on and on, the people who God used they were separated and they were alone, in a lot of cases. That's the most common theme that I see in the Bible with the servants of God. You can start from, Enoch. Adam had Eve, so that's good. But you go from Enoch to Noah. After that, you have Abraham. What did God call Abraham to do? Leave your people. There's a picture right there. What did he say to Abraham when he called him out? He said, okay, now I want you to leave everybody and go over here. That's a picture. He separated Abraham from all his people. He said, I want you to journey now. I'm going to lead you, and you're going to separate from everybody that you know. That's what happens, right? It's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Look at the Bible in the spirit. What I mean is, look at the principles of the Bible, and then you'll see yourself. You'll see your experience in your life. When God called his servants, the main thing is they were separated. When he called Abraham, he said, leave everybody. That's a picture, right? That's a picture. Do you think that Noah was going and culminating with all the other people of the earth? No. Absolutely. Do you think Enoch was? No. No. He wasn't doing it. For one, they had a mission. They knew their mission. It was to do whatever God told them to do at the time, right? That's their mission. Okay. So they were probably too busy to go do that stuff anyways. But another thing is that they were handpicked. You guys are handpicked too. Every single one of us that loves the word, that is waiting on the Lord. We were handpicked. It's not like this random thing where, oh, we just got lucky and we drew the right number and God saved us. No, this is all ordained by God. God knew us, He picked us, and that's just the way it is. That's how it's always been. Look at the patterns in the Bible. Look at the patterns and the principles in the Bible. God doesn't change, and the way that He works doesn't change. So, how does He work in the Bible? Well, every servant of God was handpicked by God. So, all of you out there who are saved, you are handpicked by God for a purpose, for a reason to be separated. And with that separation comes what? Loneliness, depression, anxiety, anger, fear. You go through all these emotions, right? All of it, all the time. But that's part of the job. That's part of the calling. You know, when God separates you from everything and everyone, that is just part of the deal, man. I mean, look at what happened to all the servants in the Bible, right? What they went through, right? That comes with the calling. That comes with being chosen. That comes with the territory. All of the things, depression, anxiety, fear, anger, loneliness, you name it. And it's because of the calling that is what is going to happen to you. At least I know that happened to me a lot, all the time, right? Sadness, so much sadness because people so close to me don't believe what I'm saying, don't care what I'm saying. They can't see it, right? All that comes. That's the job. You guys don't understand, or like maybe you do understand, but what I'm trying to show you guys is that it comes with the territory, you know. And you know, we have this technology today where we can do what we do now, and thousands of people can see it. So for sure, God is using this technology, whether it be good or bad. God is definitely using it through us to do what we're doing, and that's it. Yep, refiner's fire. I like that. That's what it is. You know, that's what it is. Look, we were not a lot of us. We were wild olive trees, wild olives, right? In the book of Romans, we're Gentiles. We had no hope in this world without God, right? Because when the Jews, when they were under covenant with God thousands of years ago, they were brought up with the law and the prophets. They were brought up with the scriptures. We weren't brought up like that, most of us. I was brought up and I loved to get tattoos and party and drink and play punk rock and go everywhere and do crazy things. I was a wild olive tree, right? Branch, however you want to put it. And the only one that could make me listen was God, right? Because He put it in my heart to want to know the truth. I didn't care what anybody else said. I don't care if you were a preacher standing on the corner threatening me with hell, or if you were the most loving person trying to love me into the kingdom of God. It didn't matter. I wasn't going to listen to anybody. I was too much busy doing what I wanted to do until God put it into my heart that I wanted to know the truth then. See? And that's only that God could plant that seed. No other man or person can do that except for God, give you the love of the truth. That's an act of God in the invisible realm. And so then I started sitting down and I started listening to things like Ancient Aliens, talking about aliens and the past technology. I watched all that for years, and then I watched a video that changed everything because they showed in the Bible, oh, there's not aliens, these are fallen angels. And then I go, oh, and then I started learning about what the government is really up to and the NWO, right? And that was God drawing me towards the truth, towards Him, towards knowing all things. That wasn't any man, because trust me, nobody could tell me what to do because I didn't care what anybody thought of me. I would have, I would have just kept going down my path. And it wasn't necessarily that I was a bad person. You know, I didn't try to hurt people or anything like that. I was just I was an ignorant person. I didn't know what this life was supposed to be about. And nobody can here's the thing. Nobody can truly know what the life is about unless God opens your eyes. That's it. I don't care how many times you go to church or a church building, whatever. I don't care how many videos you watch. Nothing is going to truly change you until God decides it's time that he's going to open your eyes. That's it. It's only God. And we can see that with the Apostle Paul. His exact pattern is our pattern. What was Paul doing? He was going to persecute believers in Jesus Christ. That's what the Apostle Paul was doing, and his name was Saul. He was a Pharisee, and anybody who named the name of Christ, he was ready to persecute them, and he was on his way to do that. He had been doing that. And what happened? We get a picture. God shined his light on it. God appeared to him in the light. Saul fell off his high horse. Get it? The high horse. And he had an immediate change and an immediate encounter with God. Now, did it matter what anybody else told? No. He would have never changed unless God changed him. And that's how I was. And that's how everybody truly is, right? You can change because somebody else is trying to make you change, but you're not truly changed on the inside, right? Like you can obey some rules and do some religious things, but on the inside, you can still be the same person. It doesn't really matter, right? It's only until God shines his light on you on the inside, just like Paul, that you truly get changed. And that's what salvation is, right? People are so busy out there arguing about, oh, can you lose your salvation? Do you just have to believe, or do you have to do things for salvation? They're missing the whole point of what's going on here. Salvation is God changing you into someone else. That's what it is. Inwardly, not outwardly. You're in the same flesh. But what salvation is taking a dead man or woman, bringing him to life, but to another life. And so, in other words, when God truly saves you, 5 years down the road, if you had a spiritual mirror, you wouldn't even recognize yourself. Right? Not a physical mirror, because if we look in the mirror 5 years down the road, we could look the exact same, right? But spiritually, if you had a mirror or a reflection, you hear me talk about reflections, you wouldn't even recognize yourself. I know I wouldn't. I would look at myself from 20 years ago and go, man, what a waste of time. I was just wasting my time. That's how I would have looked at myself. I would have looked at myself and gone, you are a blind dummy and you have no idea what's going on. That's what I would have thought of myself 20 years ago. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's what salvation is. That is what the new creature is. That is what true salvation is. It's not about, do I have to do works? Can I lose my salvation? That's all a trap. That's all, you're missing the point. What they're all missing it. That's what it is. So like when all these street preachers go out and say you got to follow all these religious rules. Well, look, rules are good, but I'm saying they're like putting a list out there, and it's like, okay, you can't do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and you got to do this, this, and this, and this, and then you're saved. It's like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how Paul got saved. Paul didn't get saved like that. Somebody didn't come up to the Apostle Paul and go, okay, here's a bunch of rules. You have to do them right, and you got to do these other things, or else God's not going to save you. No, that's not how it happened with the Apostle Paul, and that's not how it happened with me, and that's not how true salvation happens. That's how religion happens. That's how you can be a religious faker, by saying, I'm going to follow all these rules, and that means I'm saved. No, it doesn't. Because salvation is spiritual and it's done by God. It's not done by you following a bunch of rules. I'm not saying rules are bad, but the bottom line is that's not how it happens. It's all spiritual. The new creature, the new creation, born again, it's all spiritual and it has to be done by God. And when it is done, then you will experience what real salvation is. Then you're going to be something different. And again, it starts with the little mustard seed. It started with me like 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and it grew from there. Trust me, it took me a long time. And I'm not even saying that I'm in the greatest Christian or anything like that. I'm saying from where I came from, I'm a lot different. I'm a lot different, right? I just think different the whole way around. And that's what real salvation is. That's what it is. It's not religion. It's more than religion. Can we take some things from religion that are good? Yes. Like what? Like rules. Yeah, rules are good, right? Yeah. I get it. But that's not how I was saved. That's not how the Apostle Paul was saved, okay? He had a dramatic encounter with the light. Period. God introduced himself to Paul. You look, here's the thing. You can't introduce yourself to God in the flesh. You can't do it. He has to make contact with you first. You can't make it happen. That's the scary thing about it. You see? Like the movie Contact, right? Right? Contact. Well, God has to make first contact like aliens, right? He has to make first contact with you. You can't do it with him. You can want to do it. You can pretend to yourself that you have done it. But what happens with those people? They fall off they go back into just nonsense, right? Most of them. Because nothing really transpired. Right? They're like, I followed all these rules for 10 years. You know, I should be saved. I think I'm saved. And then they just ain't got the spirit. They ain't got the spirit. They're just following some rules. They think that's what it is. It ain't that. God has to make contact with you just like alien contact, like the movie Contact. He has to contact you. You cannot contact him on your terms. It's on his terms. And that's exactly what we see from the beginning of the Bible, right? He made contact with Enoch. He made contact with Noah. All the servants in the Bible, God made contact with them. Was Peter out there going, geez, I'm looking for Jesus. Where's Jesus? No. Peter was fishing. And it's funny because I love fishing. I used to love fishing. And I still would love fishing, but there's just ain't no time for nothing. Well, what was Peter doing? Peter was fishing. I can't catch no fish. And what happened, right? Was all these people looking for Jesus that found Jesus? No. No, he found them. He found the Apostle Paul. What happened? Paul got knocked off his high horse and he said, Lord, Lord, is that you? Well, if Paul was looking for him, it wouldn't have went like that. Paul was looking to persecute Christians, right? None of these people, the majority, maybe, somebody that probably was looking for Jesus, you could say it was John, right? John the Baptist, right? Because he was waiting for Jesus. And when Jesus got there, he was expecting him and he said, this is the one, right? But the majority of people in the Bible, they weren't looking for Jesus, right? So that's how it is. He'll find you, right? And that's a scary thing. You cannot. It's up to God, It's up to God, And a lot of things that you see online, the way that they put salvation is not like what I'm telling you. It's not biblical. They make salvation as if you're going to make contact with God, and that's what religion was. If I do this amount of good, that's what religion is. If I do this right and that right and this right, then God will accept me. No, that's not it. You can't do anything in the flesh for God to save you. He just has to make contact with you. Is it good? You know, it's all a work of God, really. You know, the only reason that a person searches out God is because God has put it in their heart to search him out. That's it. And a lot of people online don't like that, right? Especially street preachers. Street preachers will tell you you have to follow all these rules to get saved. I mean, it's the stupidest thing ever I've seen in the world. Because we look in the Bible and that's not how people got saved. They didn't get saved by being religious. You know, it's like, that's not how it happened. That's not grace. That's not faith and grace. That's not how faith works. That's not how grace works. Is it good to follow rules? Yes. But can you be following those rules, but on the inside still unsaved? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can follow all these religious rules and still be dead in the spirit. Because salvation is by grace through faith. And what is grace? Grace is a force, it's a power, it's a, how do you put it, a frequency, a vibration, it's electricity. It is a literal thing, and so is faith. If we had machinery, I'm sure you can measure it because it's around us, it's in the air, it's in your bloodstream. We're electrical creatures. So that's how salvation works, by grace through faith. Something invisible that only God has control of. That's it. And again, that's not what street preachers are telling people. They're all carnal. They're all religious, carnal people. All of them. Well, like 95% of them. They give you a list of rules to follow and then repeat this prayer after me. Okay, you're saved. Now go get a hot dog. No. No. Absolutely not. It's not like that at all. Thank you guys all for joining me. That's right. You know, Jesus said, this is what Jesus said. This is in the Bible. You love me because I loved you first. Come on. That's what Jesus said. He says, the reason that you love me is because I loved you first. That's it. That's it. You see, we have to really think about these things that are in the Bible because we don't understand things on a humanly level like that, right? When you meet somebody and say you fall in love with the girl or a girl falls in love with the guy, it's not like that, right? It's like, well, she doesn't love me because I love her. Like maybe, I mean, it could be the case. Like maybe she falls in love with you because you're good to her. So then now she loves you because you loved her first. Could be. But usually we think of a relationship as two people having free will and they love who they want, right? Regardless. That's how we think of it. That's not how it is with God, though. He said, you love me because I loved you first. Usually relationships don't really go like that. It's usually a mutual thing. Right? Somebody can love you and you don't have to love them back in a relationship, right? But with God and his chosen and his elect, all of his elect people loved him. He made sure of it. Because why? Because he's God. Because he can do those things. We can't make, in a relationship, somebody can love you, somebody cannot love you, right? But with God, God has a way of doing things, in my opinion, where his elect, his chosen, are going to love him back. Right? And how all that works, and so I don't know exactly, but God knows. God knows how these things work. Am I saying that people can be saved and not love God? Well, I mean, I guess, there could be times where you're like, I just don't love God anymore. Does that mean you're not saved? No, not necessarily. That's up to a person. I don't judge anybody else's salvation with God. You know what I mean? I just think that a lot of people get like that because they don't understand what's going on here. Like they don't understand how God works. And none of us can really fully understand how he works, but they think that things that are going bad in their life, and they blame it on God, right? But the thing is that God said, you're going to go through trouble because of me. You're gonna just like I was talking about earlier. When you're separated, you're going through all these things like depression, anxiety, um, uh, sadness, anger, all these things, fear, whatever it is. That's not because God doesn't love you, right? We know that. Most of us know that, but some people don't understand that because they've been sold Christianity that isn't true. They say they've been sold things like, well, when you become a Christian, everything is going to be beautiful. That's not, it's the exact opposite of that. Maybe some things can become beautiful to you, but not like they're saying, right? When you're chosen by God, things become the opposite a lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of times, right? So people who don't understand what God is promising them, what is he promising? He's promising us that it's going to be tough. Right? And that's not an easy thing to accept for any of us, but it's true. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so they say, oh my gosh, what's going on with me? I didn't, this isn't, something's wrong, because I'm going through all this. Well, when actually something would be perfect if you're going through all that, right? Because if you're going through all that, that can mean that you're actually on the right track. Think about that. That's not what Christianity sells people, though, right? Mainstream Christianity sells you, oh, well, if your relationships aren't good and you're going through financial problems, you probably have a problem with God. But in all actuality, that can actually be a sign that you're actually on the right track. But Christianity sells you a false idea of what it is, right? But to break all that down, all you got to do is open the Bible. Right? All you got to do is open the Bible and look at the lives, the things that the chosen people went through, the servants went through. And then you're like, oh, yeah, maybe I am on the right track. Oh, yeah, God did promise me tribulations. He promised me. That's people like to talk about the promises of God and all this. Yeah, well, one of those promises is that you're going to go through a lot of crap. But they don't like to tell you that in Christianity. Why? Because they're trying to sell you something, right? They're trying to sell you because they know if they told you the truth, then you might not want to invest in it, right? It's like, I'm not into that. I'm into telling you the truth and what the Bible says. And the Bible promises that you're going to go through tribulations. You're going to go through a lot of crap. Your life is not going to get better in a lot of ways that we look at getting better, but it's going to get better in the sense that you're going to know the truth. You're going to be led down the path of the truth. And so again, if people got up there and told you, hey, listen, you're brand new in the church in the building or whatever, and they say, well, who wants to be a Christian? What God says is that everything is going to change in your life, and you're going to go through such miserable times that you're going to probably just wish that you were dead. All right, who's in? And that's the truth about what it is. Nobody was almost, no, maybe not. Oh, yeah. Most people will go, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. What are you kidding me? Right? Because it's logical in the sense that it's true. But to human logic, the wisdom of this world, that's foolishness. Who would sign up for such a thing? Right? Who would sit there and go, oh yeah, pick me. I can't wait to be alone all the time and just want to die. That's great. I want to hear, sign me up. No. But that's what it is. Oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to have these spiritual attacks, right? And even people who work for, they're Satanists and they might even follow you and do things to you and all this stuff. And, you're going to be attacked spiritually all the time and maybe even physically. So are you in? You want to do this? Oh, no, people are going to say, no, I don't want to do that. Why? Because they're using the wisdom of this world, right? And they're just bottom line, they're not ordained to do it in the first place. But that's what it is, man. That's what it is. Look at, man. You think that Noah went through today's a beautiful day. But everything is beautiful today, right? God loves me, so that means that everything is beautiful in the world in my life today. No. Noah was completely separated from the world, and he was telling the world and nobody listened to him. If just one person listened to him, there would have been 9 people on the ark. But there was only 8. Why? Because the only people that listened were the other 7 that got on the ark. Not one more listened. Let me tell you what. If just one person listened, other than the 8, they would have been on the boat. I'm sure God would have let them on. I'm sure God would have made provision for somebody who was actually paying attention and believed. There would have been 9 people, or 10 people, or 11, or 100. But do you know what we can learn from Noah? Only 8 people believed what God said. And they're the only ones that made it. So how many people were in Noah's day? Millions. Probably millions. Probably millions. And I have no idea how many people there were, but we could at least say there were hundreds of thousands of people. Bare minimum. Hundreds of thousands of people. And 8 people believed God. That's it. That's it. 8 people believed. Anybody else who would have believed God would have made provision. He would have said, okay, this person believes me. I'm going to make provision for them. They can live. But nobody else did. That's a picture of the last days. That's it, man. Jesus said, be as the days of Noah. What else did he say? Be as the days of Lot. How many people made it out of Sodom and Gomorrah? Lot and a few other people. His wife, who died anyways because she looked back, and I don't know, a couple people in his family or whatever, right? That's all we got to do. Was Lot? Oh, he must have been a fearmonger, right? Noah was a fearmonger, right? These people are crazy. Yeah, until it happens. Until it happens. Look at the story. What is the common theme? A few people believe God. God spared them. The rest they're gone. Goners, right? So we're sitting here in the final generations, weeks away from all this happening, and it's the same exact thing. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Only a few people believe, whoever that is, you guys, some other people out there, and the rest going to be in real trouble. That's it. That's what Jesus said. He said that. He said, days of Lot, days of Noah. Even look at the story of Nineveh with Jonah. What about Jonah? Jonah was told by God to go to an entire city, Nineveh, and tell the entire city, if you don't turn from your evil ways, God's going to take all you out, just like Noah, right? Just like Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot. So what happened? So he said, okay. He went, he told them, they ended up turning from their evil because they got scared, right? But then what happened? Well, they turned from their evil and then later on down the line went back to it and God destroyed them. You see? That's what God does, man. Look, Christianity sells you a false God. They sell you a God that is not in the Bible. The God of the Bible genocides people. That's just a fact. The God of the Bible genocides entire populations of people. That's the truth. He did it in Noah's day. He did it at Sodom and Gomorrah. He eventually did it to Nineveh. With Babylon, he didn't destroy everybody, but he changed all their languages, so they got all mixed up, whatever happened there. And the list goes on and on and on and on. That is the true God of the Bible. The God of the Bible cannot be fully loved and understood by a natural person. You have to have the Spirit of God to actually understand and get the God of the Bible. Because you see all of these people of the world
saying how evil God is for completely wiping out populations. But these same people, they don't even believe in God. So who cares what they think? They don't they don't even believe. They say, "Oh, well, if God is real, then he's evil because he wipes out populations full of people." The one thing is they don't have any understanding. They have no understanding, and here's the main thing. They think that they're a good person. That's the main theme that you see with people who say that God is evil, is that they look in the mirror and they think that they are a good person. And that's where all this comes from. Because they haven't been saved yet. And when you're saved, you realize that you were not a good person. That before I got saved, I thought I was a good person. Right? And how did I gauge that? I gauged it saying, well, I try not to hurt anybody. I try to treat, like my girlfriend at the time with respect. I try to treat people with respect. But really, when you get saved and learn about what is actually righteous and good, then you realize you were not a good person. It's funny, I look because I have all these tattoos now, and if I could go back, I wouldn't do it, but it doesn't matter now. It is done what it done is what it's done. But I look back now and I'm over there getting tattoos all the time back in the day, getting drunk all the time, driving drunk, you know, sleeping with girls that I wasn't married to. Even in my heart, I didn't consider that I didn't love them. All that stuff. And I thought genuinely, I'm a good person. Why? Because I didn't know God and I didn't know His Word. And that's why people who are not saved think that God is evil for doing what He does, because they think that they're a good person and they're not saved. A truly saved person will tell you, I was not a good person. And the only way that I'm making it into heaven now is not because I'm really good, it's because I have the righteousness of Christ imputed to my account. In other words, what Jesus did for me, his life, his death, and his resurrection, that's how I'm getting in. Because I was not a good person according to God's standards, and still, even to this day, I have some issues. So the only way that I'm getting in, and that any saved person is getting in, is through the imputed righteousness of Christ. But that's the whole deception. Is that unsaved people think that they are good people and they think that they can judge God. So they look at what God has done in the Bible by wiping out populations, and they think that they're good and that there's lots of good people out there. And so they say, God is unjust for doing this, because they're not saved, because they don't understand they're not a good person. They don't understand that nobody is really a good person. And that's the epiphany. That's the epiphany of a saved person. That is God turning on the light in your mind and you realizing that I am not a good person. That's why salvation has to be by grace through faith, because otherwise, if it was of my works, I would never make it into heaven. That's it. But again, you could have asked me 20 years ago, and I would have told you I'm a good person. Just like everybody who doesn't know the God of the Bible says, we're good people. No, you're not. That's because you're not saved, because you don't know God. Because when you know God, then you know you're not a good person. You weren't a good person before you were saved. You didn't even come close to any good standards that God had, right? Some of us were worse than others. I give that. But in all cases, we were not good people before we were saved. And after we're saved, we're in constant rehabilitation, right? Right? Like, even after I really started to know God, I didn't really know Him. So, and it's a continual pattern. Like, we can never fully know God. We're always growing, we're always learning. starts off as a little mustard seed, and then we progress from there. At least that's how it's supposed to happen. So again, people think that they're good people, that they could judge God and things that he's done. But the whole problem is that they think that they're a good person, and they think that there's lots of good people out there. But then when you understand what God requires of a person, then you realize, nope, nobody's good. And nobody's really good. And after you're saved, you want to be good, but sometimes you're not. And that's just how it is, man. But again, different people are different. We're all we all have different circumstances. So some of us had this issue, some of us had that issue, and eventually the hope is that we turn away from all that. That's really what growth is about. But again, what street preachers tell you is, oh no, forget about the growing process, the learning process. You have to follow all these rules perfectly so that God will save you. And in my opinion, they are not very smart people, right? 95% of street preachers are not very smart people. I wish they were, but it's like they should be, where's the time for growth? Where's the time for experience? Where's the time for the process of salvation? They're not telling people about that. They're just saying you have to follow all these rules. You're supposed to do it from day one, and that's how it's going to be, or else you're not saved. It's like, that's not how it works, man. What are you talking about? But anyways, yeah, man. Thank God for making us born again for sure, man. That's right. He makes a way. He makes a way. He makes a way. And that's the truth about salvation, And it took me a long time to get where I'm at in my understanding, because I used to be on one side of the fence, and then I'd be on this side of the fence, and then eventually after a few years I figured out, like, this is all a deception. Like, none of these guys have it right? Because like I said earlier, one guy will say you can believe in God one day and believe 1 Corinthians 15 verses 1 through 4, and then the next day you can live like the devil for the rest of your life, and then you have nothing to worry about 10 years down the road when you die, and you're going to heaven. And then the other side will say, well, no, like the street preachers, you have to follow all these rules from day one, and if you break these rules, you could possibly lose your salvation, and you have to do it until the day you die, right? So you have these two extremes, and both of them are missing the whole point. Like I said earlier in this video, is that it's salvation, and God likens it to a plant, a tree growing. That's how salvation is. A mustard seed of faith gets planted, right? You get saved, you believe one day, and then God gives the increase. God is the light. Paul even writes about this, that God, the light, he gives the increase of light to a person, and that seed grows over time. That's how salvation is. What these dummies are doing, like the street preachers, is saying, from day one, you're supposed to be 100-foot tall oak tree instead of starting out like a mustard seed. That's what they're telling people, right? You got to be perfect from day one, or else you're no good. And so, in other words, they're telling you, forget about growing from a mustard seed. You have to start from being a full-grown oak tree, unmovable. And that ain't how it works. And then the other guys are telling you, it doesn't matter anything. It doesn't matter, you don't have to grow. And if you don't grow, don't worry about it. You're still saved. And in fact, you can just live like the devil. And, and that's not the natural process either, right? They're both, it's like the left and the right in the political system. It's like they're both ridiculous. They're both stupid, right? And that's not how salvation works. It's supposed to be organic, like a mustard seed growing. That's it, right? And so anyways, thank you guys all for joining. Wanted to get on here and talk. I appreciate all you guys watching the videos. I appreciate the likes as well. Don't forget to like the videos if you can. Share the videos if you can, if you want. My channel started out, this channel in particular, started out a few years back, and I did videos for like a year and a half, 2 years, with averaging like 100 views. Maybe if that, maybe 80 to 150 views, averaging for like a year, 2 years, if you go back all the way to the beginning of my channel. But then as it progressed, God gave the increase. It happened how it happened, and now I get thousands of views every day, and it does encourage me when I see more views and more likes. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I would do my videos if I only had 50 views, but the fact is that when I do have a lot of views and I do have a lot of likes, it does encourage me more, right? I don't know if it encourages me more. I don't know. I don't know if I can say more, but it is encouraging, right? Because I know that people are paying attention, that it's mattering, and things like this. But I would do my videos if I just had 50 views. But it does encourage me. It does do that. So yeah, we are at the times, man. We're like at the end. This is it. I know the things that I've gone through. People, my family definitely. Well, I don't just want to say no names. Certain people that I grew up with in my family, they think I'm a loser because I'm not doing what is expected of them, right? And I'm looked at. I can't talk about things anymore that I want to tell people because they don't want to hear it anymore. Because I tried to do it for years and it went really bad. So there's no point anymore, right? It's just God. And so I'm just waiting. I'm waiting like a lot of you guys were waiting. And that's it. I have no other purpose in my life. I have no other purpose in my life. That's it. I don't have kids that I know of. I don't. I'm just waiting. I'm just like Elijah in the cave waiting. That's it. And I think a lot of you guys are out there like that too. I go through my daily emotions. That's it, man. And as far as all this disgusting videos that are coming out about certain files and stuff like this, man, I just started getting this really bad vibe. Like, looking at these videos, like, I don't even need to be looking at these things, man. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for everything, all you do. Most of you guys already know, but there's only one way to heaven, and that's through the imputed perfect righteousness of Jesus Christ. He was the Son of God manifested in the flesh. He lived a perfect life. All of our sins were put off on him, just like they used to do in the temple. The sins were omitted or whatever, put on the lamb, and then the lamb was killed. Same thing happened with Jesus. That's the only way you're reconciled with God, is to trust what Jesus did and his resurrection. And that's it. That's the imputed righteousness. That's the good news. There's no religious thing that anybody can do out there to get right with God. Doesn't matter what it is. There's no amount of rules you can follow. There's no amount of praying, meditation, anything. It's just by believing and trusting, putting your faith in that. And then when you get saved, a little mustard seed of salvation, and it should grow from there. Grow in your knowledge and your wisdom, your understanding. And it's a rough road, let me tell you. It's not what they tell you in Christianity. Let's put it that way. If you're having problems accepting what your life has become because you're following God, Christ, look at the Bible, then it'll make sense. That's what I've been trying to tell you guys in this video. That when you start going through things and what you're told by Christianity, you think that something's wrong because you're going through all these things. But if you look at the Bible, that's actually because you're going down the right path. Things are supposed to be going wrong in that sense. So anyways, thank you guys. We will continue to wait for the rapture, and it's coming. Yep. We got to stay in the word for sure. Just believe. There's nothing else you can do. Believe. Put your faith and hope. Believe. And then, of course, like I said, man, it's always good. Rules are always good. I believe in the law, right? I believe in If it was up to me, like I said in the beginning of this video, I think that they should start executing people in the public who hurt other people, you know? I think that they should start chopping hands off and feet off for certain things, you know? But that's my opinion. So I believe in the law. I believe in not hurting anybody. And if you do, that you should pay dearly. But that's not how you get saved, bottom line. You got to put your faith and trust in Jesus and then grow from that. The world is the way it is right now, but it's not going to be like this forever. So thank you guys all for listening. God bless all you guys. Yeah, thank you, Bob. I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna hopefully, if YouTube doesn't do anything wrong, mess it up. So yeah, we're gonna wait for God. I'm gonna continue to search out matters. And Proverbs 25:2 says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a thing. It is the honor of kings to search out a matter." So there's all kinds of hidden wisdom in the Bible. Thank you guys. God bless. Not exactly sure how to end this. How should I do this? I think I pushed the back button.